Welcome to Just an Average Citizen, the podcast that helps to educate, inform, and empower you to make an impact in Abilene and the Big Country. Welcome back to our next episode. I'm really excited to be able to talk about this one because there's some helpful things that will be key pieces to understanding what direction the city is going to be taking over the next few months and what they're preparing for the next fiscal year. And so it's been a couple of weeks since I've dropped a live podcast, and I'm so grateful that you're sticking with me because I want you to understand sometimes if I don't drop a podcast for the week, it's because there's just not enough there to share, or it's something I think that's relevant for you to understand moving forward. And so I want you to know that when I do have a podcast, it's because there's something important and valuable and you'll pay attention. It's also helpful if you share this with your friends and family so that they can be aware of what's going on, because I really don't try to tell you what to think. I'm just trying to bring information to you so you can know how to think or what to think about or what you need to be thinking about. Because we all have different positions, and I find myself agreeing with some people on some things, but then we don't agree on other things. And so it's like learning how to work together in places of agreement and then learning how to grow and really strengthen what matters most in those places of disagreement. And so you may not agree with everything I say, and that's okay. It's important that you understand that I'm trying to bring some information to you that's not easily accessible in any other form. And so while I know the city is giving some updates by offering their little short council agenda item thing called the T, it's still not necessarily explaining much information. And so just because you have access to information doesn't mean it helps you, because you have to know what that information is. And so it's very one-dimensional, and I'm trying to bring into the other levels and the other layers that matter to you as a citizen of not only Abilene, but the Big Country. And I tell people all the time, don't just ignore what goes on in Abilene, because actually Abilene is the county seat. I mean, it is the huge place where most people live in Taylor County, not necessarily Big Country, but in Taylor County. And so it's important that you know what goes on in the city, because it can affect you and how you do life in your how you do your rural life. I mean, there's not as many things that affect you constantly, but you're coming in the city because you're eating at restaurants, you're doing, different things, activities, maybe children's sports or things like that. That matters to you and how you live your life, even if you're not a resident of Abilene. So it really takes the whole village for us to all come together. And one thing I will say is that I'm really encouraged by the direction I'm seeing more and more frequently of people being informed. And it's not something that people are as ignorant about things or they're unaware of what's going on. There is a lot of awareness. And I think that's great. That is a win for all of us, because the more we know about what's going on, the better results we're going to have overall. For example, I've had more discussions with people about the 89th legislature happening in Austin. I even had the privilege of going and trying to meet our representative, Stan Lambert, in his office on the first day of opening session, but he was unavailable. And so I met some of his office staff with several other citizens. I think there was almost 10 of us that day that stopped by. There was more of us, obviously, but that's how many stopped by that day, and just wanted to see how things worked. And it was not what I was expecting, and I hope to have a better experience next time. But you got to try things. You got to do hard things. You got to do new things. And I don't really want to spend a lot of time in Austin. That's not where my preference is. My preference is being in Abilene. But it helps me to understand better how to work on strategies and goals living here in the Big Country when I know what's going on in Austin. And so it's fun to talk about with people because they know what's going on, and that is a good thing. And one of the things I want to encourage you in is that your greatest place of influence is with your friends, with your family, and people who know you. You may think, well, I can have great impact on elected officials. We're not in that place yet, and you might, depending on who you are, you really might. But honestly, the fact that you would take time to talk to your friends or your family about a different scenario happening here in Abilene, or something they're trying to pass or money they're trying to spend, is actually a great thing, because the more we normalize that conversation with each other, the easier it's going to be to normalize conversation with people who actually are in positions that represent us, or people who work in the office, the city staff, or things like that. So there's a lot of moving parts, but it does have to start with just normalizing the conversation. Hey, did you hear what happened at the last city council meeting? Or, hey, do you know what is going on in the downtown hotel? Or, all these different things. And so be encouraged. We're making an impact, and the people that you have the greatest influences are people who you know. So if you hear something, talk about it and just say what's going on. I also wanted to let you know, if you happen to run across me in Abilene or you see me at a city council meeting, know that I'm going to be wearing my fancy schmancy gold name tag. All it says is my name and that I'm just an average citizen, because my greatest offering that I have is being a citizen of my community, because that is something that we all are. We all can contribute, and we all have authority to express desires and have expectations for how things should work. And one of the things I noticed, one of the times I got to go to Austin, is that everyone had these name tags telling their positions and what organization they worked with. And that's great, and it's awesome. But if we're functioning as citizens, then we are doing more than what we've ever seen done in the past. And I think that's why I'm excited about the little conversations happening here and there, rather than a million people showing up at city council. It really matters that we're talking about it outside of city council or those prescribed meetings that they have during business hours most of the time. So kudos to you. If you see me, say hi. I'm excited about what I'm seeing happening, and I hope I can continue to encourage you even in this small little act. I'm trying to wear it every day just to remind myself that I'm not doing anything great. I'm just doing the next right thing, and everyone can do the next right thing, whatever God's placed before you, because we have the ability to make an impact in the world He's placed us in. So let's do it. Okay, so there's not a whole lot going. I mean, it has been fast and furious this month. I feel like there's a lot been happening, and we're already here into February, and it's kind of crazy what's been going on. So I want to keep this focus and not too long, because I can't tell you everything, but I can give you some highlights. So actually, let's go to the city council. Let me mute it so you don't listen to it. Let's speed it up. That was the big part that I wanted to be able to do, is be able to just let you look through. And so what we have is the city council retreat. It typically happens in January. Last year was in March. It just varies from time to time. And so it's anywhere from January to March. And what they do is they talk about big priorities for the next year, so that then the city staff can take that information, synthesize it into a budget. And so when the budget comes out in July and they have another workshop over the budget, then they can see how these numbers play out in real, these proposed numbers play out in the real budget, and then they can adopt in August. And so this is a very long day. There's lots of things that are happening. There's lots of moving parts. I don't know exactly what is required for them to be able to put things on the agenda. There was quite a few people there. I was surprised, and I don't know who everybody is, and there's not really an environment to be able to ask everybody, oh, who are you with? Are you a citizen? Are you this or what? So they did propose some changes to the budget. The general idea is that they're going to act as if the tax rate is not going to increase, and it's going to be flat, so that if it changes, they can do their standard or their maximum required tax increase of 3.5%. It's either 3.5%. Now I've gone blank on it. Or is it 3? I think it's 3.5%. So the state has capped their ability to increase taxes, and they see that as a bad thing. I see like it hamstrings them. And that is really a challenge to me, because I have been watching long enough to know that there's some spending habits that are not helpful for maintaining the quality of life I do think Abilenians want in the city and for those who come to our city. And so they're really not expecting a huge increase in the budget expenditures. They are thinking of reducing some of the fund balances. So they're not going to be contributing to certain fund balances because they're very healthy, meaning there's a lot for like the apparatus. No, not the apparatus, the fleet groups, like the cars and things that they need to purchase. They feel like that's really stable, and they don't need to put more in there right now if they're going to cut corners. And so things like that, they're going to be cutting. They are, I haven't really discovered where exactly they started talking about this, but I believe they're closing the Mockingbird Branch Library, and they're opening 2 satellite libraries in the new rec center for Cesar Chavez and the Daniels Rec Center. And so they're going to have limited hours in the beginning until they have enough revenue to pay for more employees. And so that's something I still don't really know where that decision came, because I never even heard that once in the works, except for once when it was done. And so that's interesting. So they talked about the budget for next year. And again, they're not sure how things are going to go, because, the economy is tough. And when people don't spend money, then we don't have the revenues and sales taxes that helps us cover expenditures and projects they're wanting to do. They talked about having paid parking in 2 parking lots to give it a try with an app, which I thought was really cool, because We used that when we lived in Israel, and it was really awesome because you can just pay and it's not a big deal. So I think that's moving in a good direction just to make it simplified and easier, and also keep people from to help with turnover for businesses. I think is a good thing to keep people feeling like they can come and shop for a long time. They'll have a parking spot and all that stuff. All right. The next big project that they talked about, the next issue, which I'm still learning about and I still don't understand, is the Fireman Relief Retirement Fund. And so what my understanding is, the pension for the firemen is separate from other retirement plans. And somehow it's not been funded adequately through bad investment choices or bad investment strategies. I'm not sure, but we're behind. And we have a deficit in the account to the tune of $70 million. And so they talked about ways they're going to fix this, how they've been working on it for 10 years or so. There's been multiple councilmen who've been on the council for long periods of time, and I'm not really sure how things got to this point. And they don't want to talk about it. They just want to move forward, which is hard to evaluate and to fix if you don't know why the problem got to this place. How did we get to $70 million behind in our pension fund? And so the biggest concern now, I think, is a looming date of the state requiring how they fix it. And so they're in this small window of time where they can fix it on their own, with their own decisions and their own way of managing it. And so basically what I hear is they're probably going to be taking out a debt to fix this problem. And the problem with this is that we talk about debt service in terms of payment and not big picture, like how much is this going to cost us overall. Just like when you go to lease a car, they can lease you whatever car you want, basically for $200 a month. I mean, you can find a car in your price point based on your monthly payment. Now, you're going to pay out the nose for that car if you're not careful. And to me, that's what this gave off of a vibe of, yeah, look, we're only going to be paying this much a month, or this is how much we're going to save. And it's like, but we're spending $50 to $70 million. And because of it's the nature of it, they don't have to ask us to spend it because they have to pay it. So that's concerning to me. And again, how did we get to this place? I've only been paying attention seriously for 2 years. I've been watching for 3 and wondering how things work. And I'm not really seeing this been a priority for the last few years. And that's concerning to me as a citizen. Okay, the next thing we're going to go to, this is a long discussion. Let's see here. Is there now, interestingly enough, this master plan for Fort Phantom that was just a dream, was just a plan. There was no actual no action being taken in November, maybe December. I can't remember exactly when they approved it. I think it was maybe November. And I was told by the mayor, it's just a plan. We're not doing anything. Lo and behold, one of the major top items they're going to be discussing for this upcoming budget is putting in boat ramps. So if they can get a grant, it could cost us as little as $1.5 million. If they can't get a grant, it could cost us, or maybe it's 2. I can't remember exactly. But overall, the project's going to be $4.5 million. That'll probably, however we pay for it, will come out of our minor improvement project fund, which is kind of our slush fund to prevent us or to encourage us not to take out debt, which I haven't really seen it working efficiently. I've seen them taking on projects, but I'm not sure it's preventing us from taking out debt because I can go off the list in the last 9 months of all the debt we've taken out. And most of it has been without people really knowing what's going on because that seems how things are going these days. And I don't understand how that's successful and how that's working. But I'm not disparaging the need for a boat ramp. I know that people want it. I just would say that if I'm talking to people in the city, hey, what's the biggest need? Most people aren't getting a list boat ramp in their top 10, because that's just not something that is a huge need for what we're talking about. Really needing being fixed here. Okay, the airport, that's been a big deal. It's been put in the news. It is a project that they've been wanting to do. I mean, the airport was built in 1968. They did some updates in 2002, right after September 11, and they've made the best of what they can do. Most of the supplies, the HVAC system, the luggage, conveyor belt, whatever that system is, most of these things are not serviceable anymore, and they're just maintaining them until they break. And that's not a good place to be. So I've been paying attention to this for a couple years now, and they've been talking about needing a new airport. So this isn't new. This hasn't taken, like all of a sudden, here we go. But they have an actual plan now. The great part about the airport is they can get FAA loans, which will cover probably about $50 million if that all works out, leaving about $20 million for the city to repair and update. This is not a restoration. They're still going to use the terminal as it's being repaired. They get the $20 million and can go full on. It'll be a about a 2-year process, 18 months to 2 years or something like that, I think is what it is. So it's a good thing. It needs to happen. And we've got to figure out ways to start being able to have the funding, or at least a path to funding these things without having to take a bond, which is the plan right now, is to take out a bond for, I believe, the $20 million initially. I think that, this project is only one to take out a bond on. So that will be brought to us either in May or maybe November, but it's coming. And there's a lot of reasons why. But I just don't like it when when people present information partially. So the $70 million that's a total cost. But I mean, of one area where I've seen them take advantage of grants in ways I've not seen any other department do is the airport. And there's so much available. And so it's pretty impressive that you can get 2/3 of the project covered by grants and then only leave a small portion. That's pretty impressive. Okay, so the next thing on this, let's see here. Trying to blow through this for you, is the convention center. So, we got the downtown hotel. We have a downtown hotel. There's a venue district for the hotel. So basically what it does is it takes, it adds a 2% tax, I believe, to all of guests who stay in Abilene. All hotels across the board pay a hot tax, a hotel occupancy tax, and we can create venues to get more of it. So when we passed the last venue district, that was for the Frontier Texas, the Abilene Visitor Center. They have it all divided up. I can't remember all of it. And we're, only 2%, only a 2 cent sale, 2 cents, I think is what it is. And so now we have another problem. Our convention center is in need of updating. Everything seems to be in need of updating. And once we got that hotel in, everything looks shabby compared to the hotel. So this is a $70 million project that they have gotten all the designs for, which again, designs in itself cost about $100 to a couple $100,000. So we've already invested in this. And now we're saying, hey, now we got to spend millions of dollars. That's the theme of this meeting is, hey, we got another few million to spend, mostly a lot of $1 million to spend, but these don't have to be completed all the way. The bad news is if they update this auditorium, at least it'll be out for 18 months. So again, part of this problem is, while you're repairing stuff, you have to shut things down. You cannot earn revenue on it. And so that's interesting. Now, this is actually managed by another company. The city has delegate out management of the convention center to another company, like they have the water park, like they have the pet adoption center. They've managed this out so that they're not taking care of it. They're letting someone else manage. And I believe there's some profit that comes off of it so that it pays for their fees and they get some take of it. But what I'm seeing is that we're taking on too many projects and we're spread too thin and we cannot take care of all the things that is going on in our city. We need to boost the private industry so that they can actually be helping make this work better because we do not have any funds to maintain what we have. It just seems to be a little bit of a boondoggle if I can give my 2 cents there, but I'm still waiting to watch and let them prove me wrong. I'm okay with being wrong, but what I'm seeing is this is getting crazy. Between the airport, now the convention center, and haven't even gotten to the water yet. Okay, the next highlight I want to show is someone said, one of the councilmen said that, people get their first impression and their biggest impression from public city facilities. And I'm thinking, I don't even know, the only facility I go into is the city hall, and it's not an impressive, I'm not impressed with it. So hopefully other people are experiencing better parts of Abilene because I don't think these public run entities are the belle of Abilene's ball. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. Okay, so what we have here is, I will say that I don't even know where this starts, and I'm trying to find it right now. We have this energy efficiency plan with Schneider, and they've been working on it. I totally forgot about this. The problem is this year, the savings aren't going to pay for the improvements. So we're looking at $28 million of improvements that need to happen, like repairing the elevators, repairing HVAC system, repairing the outside energy efficiency. So there's nothing we can do to cover this cost. It's just going to have to come out of pocket. So that's another $28 million. And then I will say my highlight of this the whole day, which if you'd asked me what I was expecting to enjoy the most, this was not it, is actually the water. The water guys, oh my gosh, Matt and Jeremiah are 2 guys that work under Rodney Taylor. the director who's actually retiring, and they did a phenomenal job. Like seriously, I would say it starts about 4:40, and let's see, it goes through quite a bit of time. Maybe 30 or 40 minutes. It's a long presentation, but it is so interesting to understand this particular entity works with the desire to have a cash operating basis, which is so cool to me, to actually have cash on hand to do capital improvement projects, to improve things. And they've been doing a really good job with that and succeeding for the last 5 years in this way. They have increased water bills a little bit. They realized the sewer did not cover the actual expenses. So I think a lot of us noticed the increases on our sewer bill. But now it's all kind of leveled out. The problem is there's these things called PFAS in our water, and they have to get those removed, and it's going to take quite a bit of updates and a speeding up process to fix some of the things they had planned out over the next, say, 10 years. It's going to have to reduce it to about 5-year timeline, and that can cause a lot of problems, require a lot of costs, but they've got a great plan, it seems, with minimal change, a slight an increase that's pretty steady so that you know exactly what's going on. And it's not going to be a bunch of surprises from one year to the next. But they're in a rock and a hard place, and I feel for them. But I'm very impressed with their work model and how they're running things. It seems like they're the most efficient part of what I've seen in this whole process, period, ever. The problem, though, is we have, I think, about $200 million in debt still for water projects that have been from years past. And so I've got to look into that more and see what that looks like. But we have a lot of debt from the water department, and that's a problem. We still have about $150 million from the city side aspect of it that's not public works. And so that gives us a principal and interest debt accruement right now of $480 million, almost $500 million. And I've talked of at least $150 million, I believe. I think that's fair. Things that need to be happening here in the next budget cycle or two. I mean, pretty quickly. It's getting pretty close. And that's not including the $300 million for the water projects that have to take place over the next 4 to 5 years. It was about $170 million. That was their plan. And then this having to take these plastic stuff out of the water, we'll have to see how the federal government changes its standards. That could be a good thing, or we just have a really big price to pay to get this stuff up to standards. So there's more of that. I think that was it. Okay, Abilene Heritage Square is slated to open up next April. Working on that. They have 3 floors. Ground floor is teens and adult fiction, I believe, and some makerspace. Second floor is completely the children, which is good. They've got the teen, hopefully the young adult books separated from the teens, from the children, performance places. And then the top floor is more adult nonfiction and other things like that. So, and rooms you can rent out. So they're working on getting that done. And like I said, I think the plan is to close the Mockingbird branch and open up 2 new smaller branches in the new rec centers. So that was a full day, and I'm already almost through, way past my time that I wanted to be, but I just wanted to give you the highlights of what they talked about the retreat. I did forget one thing, which is at the tail end. I don't understand how this one person, a daycare owner, was managed to successfully get their need put before the council during this retreat. But one owner said, hey, I want to take advantage of this tax exemption I can do. And can you hook me up? And they didn't have enough information, so they didn't do it. But I'm just like, man, if I had that power to get things brought before the council, that would be awesome. And I must be doing things wrong because they will not bring things before the council that I've asked them to bring. So keep working on that, right? We'll keep working on it. But it was overall an interesting day. It was a long day. I was tired after sitting through all that. I'm sure the council was too. Most of them stayed the whole day. Not everyone did, but most of them stayed the whole day. And then I get home after that being over at 3:30 and find out they've now called a special city council meeting for Tuesday, which, will have already happened by the time this probably gets to you. Things are not as upfront and clear as I would like them to be. And that is the challenge. It's like, tell us what we're doing so we're not surprised. I don't like being surprised. If you're going to have to take out $70 million or $50 million to take care of the pension fund, tell us about it. Let us know. Don't tell us that this is a way to save money. We don't take out debt and save money. That's not how debt works. Debt costs us more. Interest costs more on debt than just paying cash. So we've got to have some honest conversations. And so I hope that helps you. I know that most people can't go to the State of the City. It will be recorded, so you can watch it. This is like they said, it's the Maury show, which is where the communication teams really gets to shine and they do their work. I wish they could shine a lot more throughout the rest of the year. I'm not sure what limits them from doing all those cool things that they do for this one day. But it is what it is. And so hopefully I'll be there. I'll give some feedback probably on my next podcast to let you know things we talked about. There's a lot of moving parts and I get to see a lot of connectivity through things that work through the city from the school boards, the schools and different inner city relationships, I guess is the best way to say that. So it's definitely an experience I've never had it until last year. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of people I don't really probably see very often. And it's pretty interesting. So hopefully that helps you understand a little bit about what's going on and things that they're looking to spend, but like last year at the retreat, there was no mention of the dog park. And then, so in March, they didn't mention the dog park. And in June, they're like, oh, by the way, we're going to spend $1 million on a dog park. Oh, I did forget. Speaking of dog parks, and the $400,000 bathroom they installed out there so that people wouldn't apparently go to the bathroom while they're with their dog. The boat ramps will also have 2 additional restrooms that will cost $300,000 to $400,000. Again, because the top thing on our list is to make sure there's bathrooms at a boat ramp at the lake. I think there's other projects that we need to work on and focus on more. And I'm not really sure how this list goes, but this is what they bring to the table, and this is what it apparently is the most important priorities. And again, we don't get to have all the information given to us, but it gives us direction to know what they'll be talking about. And so I think these are important things to think about and pay attention to and give feedback to. If there's something that really stands out to you, it's great to email and say, hey, I really like that y'all are doing this, or hey, have you forgotten about this? Because again, we can't all remember all the things. So if there's something an area that you're seeing that needs to be addressed, it's good to put it on the radar, at least one of the councilmen, so that they can start thinking about it and seeing how that fits into the plan and what they're hoping to do. So with that being said, I hope you're more educated, more informed, and more empowered to make an impact in Abilene and the big country. Until next time.